What do you get? Well, I'm in Broome at the moment. That's Ross behind me. Say hi, Ross.
Hi.
What do you get if you put brains, a wicked sense of humour, and huge kahunas together? This is the answer.
Government finally made me lose my marbles. Well, more specifically, they made me delete some videos where I used marbles to show you how preferential voting works in the Australian electoral system. Not because there was anything wrong with the videos, but because they lacked the so-called authorisation statement on the end. You know, that little bit at the end of every political ad that sounds like this?
Authorised by John Humphries for the Liberal Democratic Party, Mount Waverley, Victoria.
Yeah. I didn't put one of those on because I wasn't running for Parliament at the time and I didn't think it was necessary, but because it wasn't there, I had to take it down because, you know, without an authorization statement, I mean, people might not know who was making this video. Because apparently having my face and my voice and my name on a TV in the background isn't enough to tell you, the Australian voting public, who is behind this.
Well, I nipped the end of that thing. I nipped the end of that thing off by mistake. But I've watched that about 8 times, and it still makes me laugh. And I'm talking 8 times recurrently, like a little.
Michael, it's good to see your beautiful face again. And can I just say, massive props to Mandy Ragg, the artist who wrote and performed that song that you heard in the intro. Wragg is how her last name is spent. Mandy Ragg. The name is Lions. Lions, like the animal. You can find it on, Spotify and like all the other platforms. You'll find it there. Download it. Give her your couple of bucks or your couple of cents or whatever it is on that platform. She absolutely smashed that brief out of the park. I gave her a very broad brief and said in very broad terms, this is what I need from you. And she came back with an absolute ripper of a song.
Well, I have a beautiful Mandy Ragg story because I got sent this long, sad letter one night of this woman who was feeling very, very lost and despondent and everything. And I didn't know what to do. So I said, look, I'm going to take your name off and I'm going to post it. Within an hour, she'd had 560 comments or something. It had just brought up her support, which made me realize what we're building here is a community. And I never met her. And then next time I heard of her, you know, I did talk to her a few times, but never really met her. And then she was doing your song.
That was Mandy who wrote that.
Yeah,
Wrote. Oh, wow.
That's Mandy. That's what I'm saying. That's the connection. And then I was in Canberra and I was streaming everything because, you know, the Canberra whole thing. And there I am standing on some pillar streaming this horde of people going by, wanting freedom. And this petite, very attractive young woman looks up at me and goes, Michael. I go, yes. She goes, I'm Mandy Ragg. And was like, wow. And it's just this. So she's this gorgeous, gorgeous spirit. So and that song's amazing.
Oh,
she killed it.
That is an abnormal amount of talent.
Yeah.
To be able to take, you know, the brief that I gave her, it was very broad, and it was really focused on the moment and the feeling that I needed her to capture. And she just went away. And she said to me that she beat her head against a brick wall for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it was. And then she got a creative breakthrough. And it's just like it poured out of her. And
and it's got enough melancholy in it, which sort of resonates about the time we're in, and yet courage within it, because that's where we are. We're up against this relentless torrent of hypocrisy and just insanity sometimes.
Yeah,
you just got to keep going.
It hit me really hard every time I hear that song because, of course, I was there with the editor. It's WRAGG, Juliet, Mandy, WRAGG. You know, I was there with the editor and we're putting the images to that song. Michael, I don't refuse to answer that. Really? Is that the best you can do? I literally bring it up all the time. I'll answer it in a minute, mate. Come on, if you're going to troll, do it well.
I'll give you
that's
her, you know, Mandy Ragg. Look her up.
I was putting
friend of both of us.
Yeah, I was putting images to that along with my editor, and it was just soul wrenching. Like it was so deep, and she had just perfectly I mean, she's not even from Melbourne; she's from Sydney, and she perfectly captured that moment. It was just absolutely beautiful. Let me deal with this dumb question.
Now go back to this guy. I have to admit, Michael Grace. I want to congratulate you for putting your face to your profile, because my trolls don't. My trolls have little emoji things.
Listen.
So,
I have answered this question so many times. This is why I'm amused. I've answered this question so many times, and in fact, I actually tell people what's going on without them even asking.
actually, no, Topher, wait, you're being interviewed. Topher, how long you lived in Tasmania?
Oh, I don't live in Tassie, Michael. It's a deep, dark secret that I've been keeping hidden from the entire world. I don't live in Tasmania. No, I live in Victoria. I've been a part of the fight against Daniel Andrews for the last 2 years. I tell the story regularly as I travel around. I do have family that live in Tassie. My sister lives west of Burnie. I've got a cousin that lives in Hobart. I've been here many times before, but I do not live here. If I were to win the Senate seat, which I'm now running as a Liberal Democratic lead Senate candidate for the Senate in Tasmania, if I do win, I will happily move here with my family. I would be very, very happy to do so. Excuse me. If I don't, then I will stay in Victoria long enough to vote against Daniel Andrews, and then we will move out of Victoria. So that's the answer, mate. It's no secret. It's the question I refuse to answer. Goodness me, mate. Come up with something better, please. You've got 1 hour to come up with something better.
Yeah, that's it. 1 hour. Actually, no, it's 52 minutes, mate. 52 minutes, well, Michael. You better get going.
I'd better get started then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I actually took up pipe smoking. I could have got my pipe, but I don't know where it is, because I've been smoking rollies on the road. Because I'm telling you, if you ever go out on the road to do something revolutionary, always take a Polish person with you. So I've got his name's called Kret. He drives the truck. He talks like this. If anyone comes, he goes, "What did you say?" He scares them all, and he's just so cool. He sleeps anywhere, and he rolls great cigarettes. And I'm crap at it. I sit there. I literally before we get into the interview, I'm just going to tell you one of the mysteries of the universe. You could have a PhD in anything. You could have started a business which hires, thousands of people. You're a real man until you meet up with a guy who can really play pool and roll a cigarette without even looking at it, and you realize,
no.
I'm never going to make it.
No, it's the blokes. It's the blokes that can roll a cigarette with one hand.
Yeah, my uncle did that.
They're the ones that are terrifying to me. I'm like, dude, wherever you learnt that skill, your other hand was what, like holding a gat or whatever was going on that you could only use one hand. You learnt that skill. Good for you.
While driving a truck,
while driving a truck, yeah.
And manuals, and you're thinking, how could you? Because I'm sitting there, and you just anyway. We got to get to the saving the country.
Yeah,
I
think yeah. Let's get to that.
Extraordinary time that we've got you, Damien, Morgan, and John Larter all on the ticket running for the Senate. Now, I know there's a lot of other people running for the Senate as well, but the interesting thing about you four is that you've become influencers, I guess the things, and that influencers is almost like pre-marketing, it's like, right,
it's what it becomes.
What you're actually going to doing.
Yeah, it's what it becomes. And it is really interesting to me. I mean, I got into the political commentary game 12 years ago and never had ambitions of politics. And in fact, I said no to 2 different parties on 3 separate occasions before I said yes to running in this election. And I'm happy to tell that story, but I'm mindful that you're the interviewer and we're on your time. So you can
let's have a conversation.
Okay, sure.
Talk.
And just to answer the question, I'm actually having the EP Carrillo Pledge prequel, which is the current reigning champion #1 best cigar in the world, the highest rated cigar of all time. And I just thought, you know what? I'm about to have a chat with one of the finest gentlemen of all time. Why not enjoy one of the finest cigars of all time? Hey,
you hear that, Ross? He's giving you a compliment.
All right. So here's the thing. Since I became a political commentator 12 years ago, every single election I've been asked to run, usually by multiple parties. Over the journey, I've been asked by the Liberal Party, I've been asked by One Nation, I've been asked by the UAP, I've been asked by a couple of other, micro parties, and of course, I've been asked by the Liberal Democrats over the journey. I've said no every single time. I was asked at this federal election, I was offered the lead Senate position in Victoria for a major freedom-friendly minor party, like one of the big ones that actually is in with a shot. And I knocked it back because I don't want to be in politics. Then the Liberal Democrats came to me and they asked me if I would run. And I said, no, I don't want to be in politics. They came back to me a second time with a different spot for me and said, hey, would you run over here? And I said, no, I don't want to be in politics. Then my family, my wife, myself, my 5-year-old and my 1-year-old went on a road trip up to Brisbane and back. We spent a month on the road and it was amazing. Getting out of Victoria just changed my world again. It just reminded me of how much I'd changed over the 2 years, the pressure, just the compression of living under Daniel Andrews, of having just the fear of the knock on the door for 2 years. Anyway, if you've watched Battleground Melbourne, you understand. If you've lived through it yourself, you understand.
Sorry, can I interject for 2 secs? George Tango. Yes, that's right. Ricardo Bossi. Sorry, it slipped my mind. I've actually sent out an invitation for Ricardo to come on, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So, yeah, George, I just forgot. So, yeah, Ricardo Bossi is the same. Proceed.
Yep. And we were on the last day of that trip. It had been amazing. I'd met so many incredible people, seen beautiful parts of Australia. And we were driving from Albury back to Melbourne. My wife was driving. And she said to me, after the election in November, let's move out of Victoria. And I said, you mean if Daniel Andrews wins? And she said, no. Let's get out of Victoria. Now, I've lived in Victoria for 38 years. My wife's family's been in Victoria now for 4 generations. So that's a fairly big deal. Now, we knew that this day may come. It's not a completely new thought to us. But to go from, hey, we're making plans and we're putting in place a plan B in case we have to do this, to switch from that to actually, no, we're making plans and we're leaving. That was a fairly big step. But it sat really well with me. I just went, wow, yes, we have to do that. We have to get out of it, at least for a few years, minimum, a few years. And then it was a week later, the Liberal Democratic Party called me back. And I knew they were going to ask me to run again for the 3rd time this election. And I picked up the phone. It was John Humphreys. He's a fantastic guy. He's the president of the party. And he said, Topher, I said, listen, mate, don't even bother. 2 things. Number 1, I've already said no. Number 2, I'm leaving Victoria. All right, I'm not even going to stay in Victoria, so I can't even run for you. He said, yeah, well, I wasn't ringing you about Victoria. I was ringing you about Tassie. And it was just one of those moments where it was just like, oh, wow, yes. Like, that makes so much sense. And in that moment, my hardline 12 years of no, I'm not running for politics flipped as soon as it was in Tasmania. And I just went, wow, okay. So I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my wife about it. Like I said, I've got family that live here, and I've been here many times for various reasons over the years, and absolutely love the place. And as a place to bring up kids, man, what a great place. And so I went, okay. But then you think through the practicality. Okay, Tasmanians are famously parochial. Right, they are famously, friendly towards other Tasmanians and suspicious of outsiders. So here am I, a mainlander, coming in and just being like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm going to run for your Senate and represent you guys." Right now, understandably, some people are going to be pretty cynical of that idea, and I get that. But the point that I make in return is, we're not talking about local council or even state government. We're not talking about a level of government that deals with roads or hospitals or planning or any of that stuff. We're talking about a level of government that deals with taxation and defense and immigration and that high level stuff. And we're not talking about the lower house where you have your local representative for your area. We're talking about the upper house where you have 6 or actually 12 senators for your state. And the idea is that you've got senators that represent different ideas. If you're a Greens person, there are enough of you in the state, you'll have a Greens senator to be able to go to with your ideas and your problems and your questions. If you're a freedom-loving person in Tasmania, who's the senator that you can go to right now? Right? You've got, you've got.
That's too early. That's too early. I'm being presumptuous.
Well,
I'm often pointing the wrong way.
You've got a few people that are less bad than others, but really there isn't someone. And what the Liberal Democrats said to me, because I said this to them, I said, listen, they're not going to vote for me. I'm not a Tasmanian. And he said to me, they said to me, look, here's our option. As the Liberal Democratic Party, we don't have a lot of followers in Tasmania yet. We're not a well-known party. And the good quality people that we have down there can't run for a range of business or personal reasons. And so therefore, we're left with either putting forward somebody in that number 1 Senate position who they're a good person and they've got good values, but they're not a fighter. They're not gonna cut it in that world if they win. but they're a Tasmanian. Or we put forward someone who's not a Tasmanian, but has a 12-year track record and can absolutely prove beyond a shadow of doubt, based on my track record, that I'm a fighter. And I will pay whatever price it takes to stand up for what I believe is right. And if Tasmanians want someone like that in the Senate representing them...
A good thing to say there, just to interject, is I concur. Topher is. He's the real deal. I mean, I know he has to say it because he's running for politics, because, you know, we're not people that blow each other's trumpet. But but he is. That's absolutely the real deal. I mean, Topher has been fighting this fight before most of us even knew there was a war on. Yeah. And a lot of us got in really late. And then here's Topher there. This is like turning up and finding Che Guevara blowing a cigar, going, okay, you finally got here. Great. You know, yeah.
Nice to have you on board.
About that. What's that hole? That's the, that used to, you know, that's, well, it's a shell hole, but now it's a pool. You want to swim? You know, there's, and that's how it is. It's like, it's a perfect example is like Charlie Sheen churning up in the guy, what's his name? Oliver Stone's film about the Vietnam War. It's like Charlie Sheen turning up and
Apocalypse
and
Now.
There is the
Oh, that wasn't sorry.
Okay.
That
even better. I'm Forrest Gump, and I'm turning up the Vietnam War, and there's that guy before he got his legs blew off. That guy who's really cool onto it. He's been there for ages. That's what it was like getting in with Topher. We're all going, what?
Thank you. That's very kind.
But that's what it's like. This has been going on, and you've been right there plugging away. And you've actually got you and Damien and Morgan as well. You have that brain for politics that is profoundly intoxicating, especially someone like me who doesn't, you know.
Viewers are suggesting the movie you're looking for was Platoon.
Sorry, guys. It's dementia is... We brought dementia along on the trip with me. And the biggest question I get asked is, do you know? And I'm like, don't even ask. Unless it's my mum, it's a no. Anyway, going on. But this is the real deal. This is and to people in Tasmania, I mean, I adore Tasmania and I really wanted to live there. But the real thing in Tasmania is what happened in Melbourne from Topher's documentary was real, and it could even still get real. And a lot of people ran the other way and went for cover. Topher didn't. That's the truth. That's the truth. So he doesn't have to brag about that. You just have to go see. It's you know, it's. I don't think our generation, I don't think many generations have seen anything like what happened in Melbourne with Dan Andrews. And now McGowan is buying the same Bearcats because, as you know, WA people need armored vehicles to keep them in check, you know, because their freedom signs that they ride are, you know, really pretty. Yeah. Nothing better to put it down than an armored vehicle covered in thugs.
It really is the symbol of our time. It's a symbol of our generation. Is going to be a Bearcat with a cop standing next to it. That's the symbol of 2020 and 2021, and it's up to us to change it for the future.
Yeah, even the guy out the top of the turret who's just shooting your children who are out there demanding their freedom back.
And you said that these were scenes that we hadn't seen, you know, for generations. And basically, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is to try and make sure that my kids don't see them in their generation either.
Exactly.
Let's make this an anomaly, a spasm that we recover from, and not an ongoing reality for our kids and our grandkids.
Actually, even like so I'm in Broome at the moment, and we're still on this trip interviewing people wherever we go about what their thoughts. And people talk about Melbourne like frightened spectators, the same way as when Wuhan was first happening, and we're sitting in our Melbourne houses going, have you seen this in Wuhan? People falling down. They watch Melbourne the same way. They were like, is that coming here? What's going on? So it's been extraordinary. Yeah. Amazing time.
Well, look,
anyway, how's the campaign going? Let's.
Look, it's
only
good.
21 minutes in. Let me ask a question. How's the campaign going?
It's going really well in the sense of the quality of the response that I'm getting is brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. But
where are you actually?
Well, I am in not Sandy Beach. That's where I was last night. I'm going to actually have to look at my phone to remember the name. I literally went and got pizza a minute ago, and I could have told you then because I was navigating with my phone. This is life on the campaign trail. You lose all.
Martin Taylor is just you're mocking me now, Martin Taylor. All Australians should learn how to roll a cigarette. I'm trying, goddammit. I'm trying.
I'm in Hawley Beach. That's right. Staying here. Staying here for one night. That's on the north coast.
North coast.
West,
okay.
Yeah, west of Launceston, and we're on our way towards Devonport. We're stopping here overnight. We were in Sandy Bay the other night, Lizzie. I see your question there. We were in Sandy Bay the other night. Sandy Beach, sorry, the other night. Look, the response has been absolutely fantastic, but reaching people is a challenge, and the logistics of a campaign are really, really challenging, especially as a minor party. So we've ordered about 150,000 flyers for Tasmania, but because we're a minor party and we're only ordering 150,000 flyers, and we're the new kids on the block, so to speak, as far as the printing companies are concerned, we don't get priority. And so I'm sitting here now, it's 2 weeks out from the election, and I'm still waiting on my flyers. So I can't hand them out for people to start stuffing in letterboxes yet because I don't have them. They're supposed to have arrived over a week ago, and they still haven't. So things aren't going well in some respects, but the quality of the response that I'm getting on the ground is phenomenal. I'll give you an example. I was doing a meet and greet in Launceston, that's where it was, the other day, and we were just wrapping up. We were just finishing, and 3 young people, early 20s, came walking past, and they saw I've got a magnetic sign on the door of my car that says Liberal Democratic Party, less government, more freedom, and they simply said to a member of my team, they said, less government, I like the sound of that, tell me more. And we ended up having a fantastic conversation for about 25 minutes. And now they're organizing an event for this coming Tuesday night for when I come back through Launceston, and they're going to bring a bunch of their friends to a pub, and we're going to have a beer and pizza and question night where they can grill me with all the questions they want and talk to me about the election, the Liberal Democratic Party and everything else. Like, that's a genuine example of the quality of the response. I mean, people, when they meet me or when they see the values of the party and they see the Freedom Manifesto, the response is phenomenal. But I'm just not reaching enough people. I need 15,000 people to vote for me as their number one to give me a shot at picking up the Senate seat. Right? That's not when I win it. That's just when I get, when you then factor in preferences and everything else, that's when I'm in the hunt. Is it about 15,000 number one preference votes? And getting the word out is a genuine challenge.
Yeah, it is. I would agree. Which is, though, brings us back to what I said about, Bossy, yourself, Damien, and Morgan, can your social media presence help in that? Because you're not starting from zero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It definitely helps. But you know what I've noticed, and my wife has as well, she helps me with a lot of my stuff. My reach has been crushed in the last 3 weeks since I announced as a candidate. It took about a week or two after that, and then my reach has just been gone down a hole.
So you're talking shadow banning.
Yes. Let's not the word that we can't say.
I'm actually talking today to John Larder, the Rural Rebel, Luke from AFIPN. All of us have seen our reach kaboom. My followers and likes are still going up, but the reach is just down. So
to give you some idea,
prove it, but it seems to be strange.
On a normal month, I will reach over 1 million people. That's just a normal month for my Facebook page. That's Facebook alone. On a normal month, I reach over 1 million people. Judging by the figures of the last 2 weeks, I'll be lucky to reach 150,000 people in this month period. If it continues for the next 2 weeks the way it has for the last 2 weeks. So I've been crushed down to around about a 15% reach from where I would normally be.
I'm going to take a moment to brag, but only to make an astonishing point. I've gone from a month and a half ago, or the previous month, from reaching 5.6 million people with my Facebook page to 900,000.
Yeah.
And
So that's a similar ratio. That's a similar ratio.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
the same with Hank from the Rural Rebel. He's got 12,000 followers now, and maybe 30 people see a post. So it doesn't make sense. And what people have told me is I don't see your posts anymore. And Facebook actually said, if anyone shares your stuff, you get, like, even today when I announced us on, this huge thing came up which said, they should just go Danger Will Robinson, Danger Will Robinson, but it's basic, and that's what it's like. So people are very concerned if they share that that's going to be on. We're really under attack, which is why we're seriously looking, or basically the next few weeks, we're going to have this new platform, which will be ours and be free. So it'll be interesting to see if people will come across. But it's across the board, Topher. And I think I heard Morgan, I haven't checked Morgan while Morgan said the same. And so, and I think it's worthy. Hank and I got to do a show about it anyway because we're not running, but I think it's worthy of discussion. The other day, what I did was, because I'm never sure what data I've got because our MBN is shit that we spent billions on, and we got shit. When I have data, I call up any local candidates or in other states, and I get 4 of them on together in the morning. The other day I had Michael from IMOP and a few others, and we come on and we have a discussion. YouTube took it down straight away. It breaks community standards. They're running for Parliament. They're running for Parliament. They're having their say. I'm just letting you see them, and you're taking them down. It's insane. And the real question is, even though that annoys us, this is a question everyone's saying wherever I go, because there's resistance all around Australia. Why isn't it firing enough people up? Why aren't Australians going, hey, enough's enough? Come on, man. We're a free country, free speech.
So that's
one of the most interesting questions.
That's a fair question. But my response to that is actually we don't need a majority to fire up. We only need 3 to 4% of the population. 1 out of every roughly 20 people is all we need. And if 1 out of every 20 people got really passionate and did the boring stuff, I don't know if you've heard this from me, Michael, because we haven't spoken for a little while because you went and pissed off up to the north and I've headed down to the south. So, I mean, look at us right now, okay? You're in a tropical shirt, right? All nice and colorful and living fancy free. I'm in a hoodie with a jacket on top and cold. We've headed in different directions, mate. But I've started focusing on telling people, hey, do the boring, right? Because we always thought that tyranny would come in some exciting way because our interaction with tyranny growing up was in movies. It was in Hollywood movies and it was exciting. And we were watching whether it was James Bond or, whoever it may have been, Jason Bourne, or whatever it may have been.
Armageddon.
We're watching all these movies.
Day, big
exactly. And it's exciting. Yes, it's dangerous and it's horrible, but it's also exciting. That's not how tyranny really works. Tyranny is incredibly boring. It comes at the stroke of a pen. It comes with stupid,
the banality of evil.
Yeah, the banality of evil. Exactly. And the unfortunate reality is that the way we fight it is equally boring. We do it by showing up. We do it by putting how to vote cards in people's letterboxes or standing and handing them out at polling booths and signing petitions and supporting those who were willing to go into the front line. It's really freaking boring. I'm sorry about that. I can't make it any more exciting than what it is in reality, but we have to do the boring.
Here, look at this from Aquila Nolan. True Topher, I haven't seen any of your posts, no notifications at all. Now I'm taking she's a subscriber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there you go. Perfect example. Well, the other thing I'll say though to anyone listening, if you're there in Tassie, you are the campaign workers, the campaign staff for Topher. If they're stopping him, if they're shadow banning him, and if they're also stopping him getting his little how to vote cards or his little stickers, whatever, pamphlets, you do it. And we've got to learn, download his stuff, re-upload it. Don't just share. Because what I'm noticing with you share, you can have 1,000 people liking something. Someone shares it, 1 or 2 people like it. Facebook is screwing with
Correct.
shares.
Correct.
You have to download, upload, and there's a lot of little, very cheap programs you can download videos, put them up. Topher's video about marbles, match that to his history of what he's done. That's enough to get him elected. You want someone like Topher in, and that's so to me. But this is what we've got to do. We've all got to become active. And what the reason being, so I'm traveling in Australia. I never used to have anything to do with politics because basically politics never really had anything to do with me. It's just taxes and stuff like that. Now it's in my life, stopping me getting work. We got fined for crossing the border, $3,000 between the three of us across the border. Arrested in my own country for coming back to my home state to see my mum who's sick. This is where we are now, and going around this, I'm meeting all these people up here. A lot of people who drift around the country doing seasonal jobs and stuff like this, having now to get vaccinated to do the job, or just basically having the government coming in trying to control their lives where they've grown up literally free. And the other thing too, and this is really, really, really important. Everywhere I go, like even this fantastic business I'm in now, which I can't mention because Ross doesn't want me to get in trouble. All these country towns and these places I've seen were built by entrepreneurs, built by risk takers like yourself, Topher. They're built by people taking risks, going out there, not scared to fail, picking themselves up if they don't. It's not built by compliant people who are waiting for the government to tell them what to do. And we can't build the future of this country on people who are going to wait for the government to tell them how to do it. The government fucks everything up. NBN, perfect example. Perfect example of the NBN.
The government has never seen a problem that it couldn't make worse. Right? They look at every problem and they're like, oh no, you think it's fucked up now. Wait till we fix it.
Yeah, you wait.
We've
got to have a committee.
Now, there's some great questions that have come through. I've just been watching as they've been filtering through.
Yeah, you go. You get number one. I'll go back to them.
For the public record, you, and by you I mean every single person watching, have my permission to download and re-upload my stuff. I relinquish my copyright claim to that material. You can download it and re-upload it. I will never call you out. You'll never get in trouble with me for doing that. Number two,
I still type stuff all the time. He's fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. The whole point of what I do is to get the message out. Someone stealing my stuff is helping me get the message out. I mean, seriously, I don't need the credit for it. I just want it to get out there. Secondly, I recently uploaded to Facebook and Instagram. I put up the Tasmanian How to Vote cards for the Liberal Democratic Party. It'll be a few posts old on my Facebook and on my Instagram. Go and find that, download it, save it to your phone, and then share it with anyone that you know in Tasmania or anyone that has connections to Tasmania to get it out there. They can stop me from getting my printing, or I don't know if they're stopping me, but my printing hasn't showed up, but they can't stop you from sharing the digital copy.
And even if you don't share it because you've got 100 people or 200, 300, 400 Facebook friends, chances are a few of them live in Tassie.
Yep, correct. Yep.
So don't even feel it's there. Share them.
Yep. So and this is really, really important. The boring stuff is really, really important. Sharing stuff, getting out there in the real world, putting signs in your front yard. Like, okay, yes, it seems so insignificant. What can I do? I'm only one person. Yes. But if there's a couple of thousand one persons willing to put a sign in their front yard, then all of a sudden there's thousands of signs around. Right. That all of those one persons added up to something really significant. So whether it's me or whether, I might not be your flavor and you might prefer to support somebody else, or I might not be in your state and you'd rather support somebody else. Completely fine. Do that. Support the other person, but please get involved. Don't be a spectator
anymore. And the passion of you sharing it is going to go, why are they so passionate about this person, especially not related? I got Kathy Leaney here. I don't see any Cafe Looked At posts. Have to go find them. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for going looking for them. We have loads going up. There's an interview with an Indigenous elder today, woman. She was doing an amazing interview. That's going up right now. So this is it. This is a real fight, because what they're hoping for is that you're just going to be compliant, turn up, vote like you always vote, not think about it and just hope everything goes away, go with the flow. But if we all continue to go with the flow, then everything we love about this country will drown. It is this is the election where we fight to change. We stand up and we become the architects of the future of this country for our kids and our kids and the kids that we haven't even seen. What happened on Anzac Day this year? I interviewed 2 serving ex-servicemen in Karratha who put on brave faces, and they did a podcast because they didn't want to be seen because they're in the reserves. It broke your heart to watch these men who were not allowed to go to the dawn service because they're not complying. And yet they fought for our country. It was, and everyone's moving on like nothing happened. It was sacrilegious. It was, and this is where we are now. It's not getting better. We're not on the slippery slope into tyranny. We're surfing down it. And it's, and seriously, and this is why we need people like Topher in. Tassie, we need people like brakes on the train to go, let's try stop this. We need it. Can you explain what the federal Senate will look like if we can get enough independence in, and how our country will benefit from that?
Yeah. All right. Well, first things first, let's touch on what the Senate is. So there's 2 different houses in Parliament. There's the lower house, which is also called the House of Representatives, and there's the upper house, which is also known as the Senate. I want to talk about what the function of both of those is, because the way you get elected into them is different, and there's a good reason for that. It's very intentional, and it's actually, in my opinion, really well designed. We just don't do a very good job of implementing it. In the lower house, you have 1 representative representing each geographic area, and it's divided up by the number of people who live there. So basically, every Australian has 1 representative, or every X number of Australians have 1 representative representing their interests in the lower house. In order for someone to win in the lower house, they must get more than half of the people that live in their area to support them, either with their number 1 vote or through preferential voting, where the preferences add up. If you don't understand preferences, jump onto Google and go Topher Field marbles, and you'll find my video that explains all of that stuff. So in the lower house, you have a representative for your geographic area, and they are your go-to person for issues with roads and hospitals and all that sort of stuff, right? All the practical sort of stuff. Getting elected into the lower house is hard because you have to get 50% plus 1 of the vote. So it's almost always the major 2 parties and maybe a couple of nationals, maybe a couple of Greens here and there. But it's the bigger parties that get lower house reps. Now, we might see a few lower house seats go to freedom-friendly minor parties. One Nation, UAP, Liberal Democratic Party might pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them nationwide, but it's not going to be more than that. It's going to be a very small number, if any at all. But that's the house where government is decided. Whoever gets to be the prime minister is the one that has the support of a majority of lower house representatives. That's what determines who the prime minister is, and then they determine who the defense minister and the treasurer and this and that and so forth. They form government. That's all the lower house. The upper house, the Senate, which is what I'm running for, works completely differently for very good reasons. Each state has 12 senators. Senators get a term that lasts for 2 elections or 6 years instead of 1 term, which is 3 years. So each election, you're electing 6 senators. Now, senators represent the entire state. They're not your representative for practical, pragmatic matters necessarily. They're actually your representative for ideas. And the Senate works on what's called a proportional voting system. Instead of 50%, a majority voting system, Senate seats are awarded according to the proportion of the population that that vote for your senators, or in other words, support your ideas. So if you get enough people in the Greens party and they're voting 7, 8, 9% of them are voting for a Greens senator, then they'll end up with a Greens senator to represent those ideas in Parliament. It's not so much about the geographic area or the practical matters, it's about the ideas. And so what I'm doing by running for the Senate in Tasmania is saying, hey, Tasmanians, those of you that believe in freedom, that believe in less government, that believe in the returning power back to the individual so that you can make decisions for yourself and take responsibility for yourself. By the way, those 2 things go hand in hand. The freedom to make your own choices goes hand in hand with the responsibility for the consequences of those choices. If that's you, if you like that idea, then I'm your guy. I'm the person that you can vote for in the Senate that will then go and represent those ideas into the government on your behalf, right? So the Senate does not form government. That's the lower house. But in order for something to become law, it has to go through both houses, the lower house and the Senate, the upper house. The House of Review is what it's often called. So laws originate in the lower house. If they pass the lower house, they go to the Senate for review. And the point is, you have these people who have been proportionally elected according to what they believe, according to the ideas in their head, who are now going to debate this piece of legislation and decide whether it's actually consistent with what their constituents want, the proportion of the constituents that they represent, the ideas that they represent. It's a house of debate, a house of review. And many times legislation passes the lower house and fails in the Senate, and often for a very good reason, because it's not actually in the best interests of the country. So that's what the Senate's job is. Now, if neither the Liberal national parties nor the Labor Greens hold an outright majority in the Senate, then anytime they want to pass legislation, they have to come and talk to us. If I were to get in, they'd have to come and talk to me along with other excellent senators, freedom-friendly senators from other states as well. And what we get the chance to do then is to alter the legislation. We can say, listen, I'm not going to support it in the form that it takes right now, but if you amend this and change that and cut that out of it, then I'll support it. And so we can improve the legislation or just reject the legislation, depending on what it is and how bad it is. So that's what the Senate can do, is dramatically improve the quality of the legislation that is getting passed by representing the proportion of people in their state that hold the ideas that they represent.
Okay, I'll just go over to I have another question about that, but just could you have a crack at this, Deborah Jennings? Stand for the Aboriginal people and don't vote as this shit shot show, I think you meant. Shit shot show. Yeah, well,
there you go. That's a new one for me. Yep.
Shit shot show.
Okay, so Deborah, this falls into the broad category of people who are urging me and others to kind of opt out. Don't engage with the system. Don't run for politics. Don't vote. You're just legitimizing the system. Okay, I can understand that line of reasoning, but I want to put to you a challenge that I've put to many other people, and no one has even attempted this challenge yet. No one has even had a crack. The challenge is this. Can you articulate from me a way of making change outside of the system that has a better than 50% chance of working sometime in my lifetime and a less than 50% chance of leading to civil war? All right? If you can tell me the mechanism, the specific strategies that can be used to be effective at making change that has a better than 50% chance of working sometime in the next 40 years and isn't just as likely to lead to war, then I'm interested. But no one has been able to articulate from me a way of really actually making effective change whilst ignoring or disengaging from the system as it is. Now, I'm all for opting out. I think we should be getting energy independent. We should be looking for food independence amongst our own communities and our own groups. We should be education independence, income independence. We should be opting out in all sorts of different ways. But I don't think we should be opting out of engaging with the political system, because if there's one thing that we've learned over the last 2 years, is that you can ignore politics all you like. Politicians will not ignore you. They will rule over you, regardless of whether you ignore them. So I think we have to actually get more engaged, not less.
What we have now is people who are literally already thinking like we're in a dictatorship. The government tells them to do something, they do it. This is not the way we should be acting in a democracy. We can't ask questions. Free speech is under attack. We've just proven that with our shadow banning, and we're constantly proving that. Constantly the fact they're all getting banned. So it's things like that. But I just have this one more question post here from Jody Ryan. The thing in Tassie, we have no independent reporters, no social media like you guys have over there. We basically have no one supporting us. People are well asleep. They just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so I used to get a lot of people saying to me, oh, Topher, we need you in Western Australia. I said, you've got a Topher field in Western Australia. You just don't realize that it's you yet, right? Rewind 12 years, Topher Field wasn't Topher Field.
Yeah, Jody, hey, Jody, look.
Yeah, Topher Field's just something.
See this? Yeah. That's everyone says to me, oh, Michael, you've got an agenda. No, I've got a Google Pixel phone and a Samsung as a backup. I've got this rat thing that Barry gave me. Barry's one of our producers. Looks like a rat, but it actually gives good audio. You're the same. You've got a stand. Mine's on a camera. There's a, and that's it. You don't need much. You just need to get out. Get out
and
there. The truth is out there, and that's a way to fight now.
And people say to me, "Oh, but I don't have the audience that you have." Well, I didn't have the audience that I have when I started
I didn't
either.
have the audience.
And you know what's funny, right? Because of the way that social media has grown, it's taken me 12 years to get to the point where I've got, I don't know, between all my platforms, I've got 150,000 or so people actively following me, right? People like Rukshan have built a following well in excess of that in just a couple of months. Why? Because the internet has evolved now. It's much easier to do that now. And Rukshan did a fantastic job, and he deserved every single follower that he got. My point being, don't look at me and go, "Oh, it's going to take me 12 years to get there." No. Go and do your thing. And if your thing is the right thing for that moment in time, then you are going to explode exponentially, right? Your growth could well and truly outstrip mine. And you could become the next Joe Rogan and completely overtake me and leave me in the dust. That's good. I'd be happy to see that happen. Don't look at me and think, "Oh, it's going to take me 12 years to get there." No, you don't need my audience. All right. I've invested in this audience to be who I am and to bring the messages that I believe are important in the way that I believe is best. You can build your audience, and you could potentially build an audience far bigger, far faster, far more loyal, and make a far bigger difference by you doing your thing. That's
it's
just
not
honestly
hard.
get out there and do your thing.
We have all the tools, and I'm like, when I was in Perth, this was interesting. When I was in Perth, I met all these guys over there who are doing a lot of good work. Scotty and Freedom Media, I think, is another one, and the Pink Panther. All these guys doing great things, and we don't hear or see any of their stuff. I actually think there's algorithms stopping our stuff crossing the country. This is how we're entrapped. They don't see any of our stuff. So there is an announcement of this thing we're building to try to see if we can curtail that. But there's but that's what you don't now. There's a revolution going on, because even though the other side has all the money, mainstream media, I believe, is finished. As soon as Stan Grant kicked that guy off his show and didn't let him have his say, that was the end of the ABC. The ABC is supposed to be a balancing. They knew that kid was coming. They would have filtered that kid. He didn't just turn up. They did that, and they did that. That was it. That was that was the ABC going, "We are now Marxist or communist. That's it. We don't allow dissension and this." But the question I want to ask, actually, I'm getting back to a question. With senators in the upper house now, the Labor Party, explain the Liberal Party allows you, if they're all voting this way, but you're a Liberal Party member, as far as I'm aware, if you want to vote differently, the Liberal Party is not going to penalize you so much. You have that freedom, but the Labor Party doesn't. Okay. Explain that.
Let me get to that in a sec. There's two other questions that have come up in the comments. Someone's asked what my real name is. My real name is Christopher. My dad was Christopher and I'm Christopher, so he got Chris and I got Topher. That's how we split the name up. So that's the answer to that one. Someone asked what's my stance on issues of life, so abortion, euthanasia, etc. I am 100% pro-life when it comes to abortion. I've said that at the ACL conference the other day. I'm happy to say that publicly. The Liberal Democratic Party itself used to be pro-abortion, and I refused to join until they removed that policy. They now no longer have a policy on abortion, and it's up to the conscience of each individual MP. And if I were to be elected, I would be a pro-life MP, no question about it. The party has a pro-euthanasia policy at the moment, but even so, that is with appropriate safeguards to protect medical professionals who don't want to be a part of it, and to protect the vulnerable elderly people who may be preyed upon by family members and so forth. And I'm concerned
that's the fear with that. I mean, I have a play about that. That's the fear with that.
Yeah, I'm concerned that those safeguards would actually, I can't imagine a set of safeguards that would actually satisfy me in that regard. So it's very likely that I would also be voting against euthanasia laws as well. I would say almost a certainty that I'd be voting against euthanasia laws as well. Even though the party's position is officially in favor of it, even if you talk to other MPs that are current, serving MPs within the party, they will tell you point blank, the party policy is in favor of euthanasia, but with appropriate safeguards, and we don't think we will ever see appropriate safeguards, and therefore we'll probably always be voting against it. I will almost certainly, and I say the word almost just because I guess it's possible maybe that it could happen, but I don't expect ever to see euthanasia legislation that I would vote for in my lifetime. So that's those two questions that I've just seen popping up on the way through. So the Labor Party have a very strict policy. If you want to be a Labor politician and benefit from their brand and from their party machine and their election machine and all their volunteers and everything else, you toe the line. And if you cross the floor on a vote, you're out, right? The Liberal Party take a bit of a different view. There are some things where they will enforce discipline and say, no, you have to back us. But there are a pretty broad range of topics where they'll say, okay, you can vote, you can vote your conscience. But there's a limit to that. And we see that with Bernie Finn. Bernie Finn, Victorian MP in the Victorian Liberal Party, has just been told to pull his head in by Matthew Guy because he's been coming out very outspoken as a pro-life politician. And Matthew Guy's turned around and said, listen, pull your head in or you're out. We see a similar thing done differently with Erica Betts right here in Tasmania. Erica Betts has given decades of his life to the Liberal Party as a senator representing the Tasmanian people. How do they reward him? He's actually been one of the better ones. He's been pro-life. He's been anti-mandates. He's actually been speaking up on some of this stuff in ways that almost no one else in his party is willing to. How do they reward him? They put him at number 3 on their Senate ticket, which is almost an unwinnable spot. They're basically kicking him out of the party without quite kicking him out of the party, right? That's how they reward people that actually exercise their right to disagree with the party. So the Liberals on paper, you're allowed to disagree with. But the truth is, if you disagree for long enough, they just kick you out. And I suspect the same thing's going to end up happening with Alex Antic, Jared Rennick. These guys, they're halfway through their terms at the moment, so they've got another 3 years to run. By the time they're running for their next election, I strongly suspect the Liberal Party are going to be trying to shaft them.
Well, and the reason for saying that was this is why we need independence in the Senate. People who can vote with their conscience, who can sit down there and they're not swayed by these two parties and loyalties. And we saw that in, well, let's talk about Julia Gillard, then some of the things that she did that you saw that you really felt in your heart she didn't believe in, but she was being swayed. There's an interesting comment here. Michael, I've been issued my comments go against community standards for commenting Damien Richard and is a man with integrity and passionate about Victorians.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd go along with that. I think that's, yeah.
You think that's a violation of community standards? Look,
that's what we're looking at. That's
exactly the sort of stuff that is happening all the time. All the time.
Thanks for putting it forward up, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair thing. Now, the other thing too, I've seen some people getting on and they're talking about their policies and what they're going to get through, and it's trying to get people to understand they're not probably going to be able to do that much.
Yeah,
but I love the fact of where you stand, and I love the fact that you're bringing up right to life because it's almost an issue you can't speak about in Victoria.
Yeah. Now, can I actually add to that? There's something really important that I want to add to that. This is critical. I think that we culturally, and especially, so I'm a Christian, and I think the church has done a terrible job of supporting women who find themselves in a situation where they're considering abortion. Yeah. Right? There's a reason why. In many cases, it may be money, it may be family pressure, it may be shame. It could be any one of a number of different reasons why a woman who finds themselves with an unexpected, unwanted pregnancy would actually be thinking about abortion in the first place. And if we're going to say abortion is wrong and we're going to protect the life of that child, which I think we should say that, we should also be saying, hey, young lady, what do you need? What do you need in your life right now to help you get through this situation? What is it about your current situation that makes you want to get rid of this child? And how can we help? And I think especially Christians, and I say this to myself because I am one, Christians especially have done a really good job of campaigning for the rights of the child and a really bad job of actually supporting the women that are so desperate that they're considering abortion in the first place. And we need to get a whole lot better at the latter. Otherwise, our campaign for the life of the child is only half the story. We're only actually looking after half of the story here. There's a reason why women feel so desperate that they'll be willing to consider that option. And we should be right there alongside them saying, hey, what do you need? How can we help? Can we, we need to improve the adoption laws in this country. We need to improve the way that happens. We need to improve the cultural response. Instead of people abandoning a woman in that moment and saying, oh, well, I can't be friends. And Christians are especially bad at this. Oh, no, you've done the wrong thing. You've been naughty. We can't be friends anymore. No. That person needs you right now more than ever. And that's the response that we should be having for them. And I think that's really important to put that alongside.
The third factor, of course, is the parents who would benefit from adopting a child.
Correct. Correct. And there are many
I
who
have
would
so
love to do
many
it.
friends who grew up,
Yep.
who were born from the period where they were adopted. This was
Yeah.
previous to pre-abortion. They've got
Yeah.
lives, they've got things, they've got families. Usually they don't even talk about it because they want to keep it quiet. But
Yeah.
it is all these people. There's so many people around who were orphaned, and now have gone on to be great assets to society and have
Correct.
fulfilled
Correct.
lives and created beautiful families. And often because they are orphans, they actually really create beautiful families because they want to give their
They
children what
value
they
it.
didn't have. I
Yeah.
actually think I'm with you. It's not something. I am. I am with you.
Yeah.
And my fear with there used to be a hypocrisy to right of life is the fact that if you were old and you wanted to die, you weren't allowed to die. But something that was rushing like crazy from the ether to live wasn't given the chance.
That's
So
right.
it's a difficult subject. But this thing of late term abortions to me, I think, is evil. I just think it's evil.
Now, I want to finish on a slightly lighter note because I'm just mindful that you've got to head off very, very soon. So young Alex here has been going absolutely nuts all the way through, saying, I've got nothing, da-da-da-da. Okay, Alex, I want to put something to you, okay? You want people to believe that I'm a nobody, that I'm a nothing, that I offer nothing, that there's no point listening to me. Why am I even here? All that sort of stuff. What does that say that you have just spent an hour of your life trying to tear me down? Right? If I'm nothing, then the person trying to tear nothing down is what, less than nothing? Like here you are sniping at nothing. The very fact that you've spent an hour of your life here puts the lie to everything that you've said tonight. So I just want to encourage you to go away and have a think. You're welcome to think that I'm nothing. Okay, that's fine. It's a free country. You can make that decision for yourself. That's fine. But if you believe that's true, then please get a hold of yourself and go and do something useful with your life. Because sniping on the internet at someone that you claim is nothing is not helping anybody. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, it's not helping anybody. Go and do something constructive with your life. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to change your mind about me. But please go and do something more valuable with your life than sniping at nobodies on the internet.
Agreed. Totally agree. I usually don't interact with them much because, because I came from the theater, you had lots of critics. And I just used to have a saying, show me a world built by critics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This thing. Now, I really admire your stance. I really admire your fight. I'm wishing you all the luck. There was some question of getting somebody else on with you today, but I just really wanted to give you an hour. I mean, I'm a big fan of yours anyway. And I kissed you that time, and I've never forgotten that.
It changed my life, Michael. Changed my life.
No, but the thing is that, and this we need people with integrity. We need people who are not scared to speak their truth. And to get living in your truth is one thing. Someone said to me that day, I'm living in my truth. I said, yeah, but that's only one part. Then now you have to do the action with it.
Yeah.
This is just here. It's a time for action. And so Topher has been doing that. He speaks the truth, but he's got the action, and he's on this journey along with these other great guys and stuff. So I hope you're in Tasmania. Find him, share his stuff, support him. Because we need change. You need change. Your kids need change. And the kids that you don't even know are coming, we cannot leave them this society the way it's going. We just can't do that. It's our responsibility to leave it different. Topher, the last word is yours, my friend. And then I'm going to go to another snippet from your marbles.
Look, Michael, it's always a pleasure. And thank you so much for having me. I just want to repeat what I said earlier. Get out there and do the boring. Right, whether it's in support of me or in support of another freedom-friendly candidate, that's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned. Just pick someone and get out there and do the boring. Hand out the leaflets, stuff letterboxes, stand on the polling booth, put a sign in your yard. Do the boring, because right now that's what's actually making the difference.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all I got. Right now, that's what matters.
All he's got. That's not all you got, buddy. You got to have a gun.
How long have you got? We're trying to wind up.
I wish I didn't have to go, actually, but I'm hoping there's a lot of people said they talked tonight, and I just want to get some more interviews to go. Topher, absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Good luck to you. And here we go. I'm going to finish with this, and then I'm going to shoot off. Take care, brother.
Because people use their preferences correctly, the vast majority of the votes from this freedom-friendly minor party will end up in this one. Now, there's a few that won't. There's a few people that didn't see this video or maybe didn't pay attention or just didn't care. So there's a few votes that end up with one or other of the major parties. But the vast majority end up with the other freedom-friendly minor party. Voila. Now, what this does, this is the magic of the system. All of a sudden, we have to reorder these according to who is highest and who is lowest now, after the preferences have been distributed up to this point. What that means is that the freedom-friendly minor party, thanks to the gathering and the collecting of all of the votes from the other freedom-friendly minor parties, have now come over the top of the Liberal Party. So with 3 to go, here's the key. With 3 to go, we need a freedom-friendly minor party to be in second place, or first ideally, but they don't even have to be first. They just need to be in second, because here's what most Liberal voters do. If you're a Liberal voter, you put Liberal at the top, you put Greens and Labor at the bottom, and you put everyone else in between. If you're a Labor voter, you put Labor at the top, maybe Greens next, Liberal at the very bottom, and everyone else in between. And it's because of that everyone else in between that this works. Because whilst a few of these voters will have voted Liberal and then Labor shortly afterwards, bringing Labor almost up to a winning margin, the vast majority will have put anybody and everybody else in between. And that means whichever freedom-friendly minor party this is, it's in the middle. That means that they get the preferences.